this particular slideshow, this PowerPoint presentation, I've updated it, and I will be able to share that with you. All right. What you will see on this one goes straight to your lecturer's resources, right? On R. So in your module there is a slide for every single learning unit. I will be updating it. One of the features that I'm adding is, for example, an audio. So you will see on this one, if you can see that, on this one, you will see that there is an audio that you can click on, and basically you could listen to the entire summary of Learning Unit 1. So I just did it for you, and it's there, it's available. It's a nice audio. One of the things that I'm doing this year, specifically this year, is the use of AI. Now, all of you are aware that AI is becoming part of our daily lives, right? We can no longer claim not to use it, or it reminds me a little bit. I do remember there was a time where for my written exam, they used to forbid us from using the calculator, right? Now you know that that's ridiculous, right? Where when you're gonna be writing your written exam for finance, you will come with your calculator, right? But there used to be a time. I don't know for you guys, but for us who are old enough, we do remember that time where we were forbidden to use a calculator, and using a calculator was considered cheating. Well, I hope you're laughing. That idea is ridiculous, and that's what I feel about AI. AI is becoming so important, and so have a listen when you have the chance of that audio, and that audio is AI. Is AI. So just let me know what you think about the audio. And actually, I would like even to evolve, if I can put it that way, even into present AI presentations for you guys. Anything that will make you enjoy this journey that we are on, you and I will do it for you, right? So I would promise you, I'm going to evolve with the time, all right? I'm going to adapt. Okay, so that's just basically housekeeping when it comes to uh, the slides here and some of the material. But can I hear from you? Please, we do have a bit of time. Have you read Learning Unit 1? So I'm just going again to the polls that I posted on WhatsApp. And I can see that there are 3 people who are waiting for a sign from God to begin Learning Unit 1. Okay, they haven't started. 3 people have started. 1 person is halfway through. 2 people have completed. And then 5 people not only have completed, but they also have completed the ICE task 1. So well done. Generally, that's quite a good performance for the entire class. Thank you so much for being so proactive. There's a couple of names I'm not going to mention here, but I'm still looking for certain students who are yet active, not yet active. But obviously, if you are one of them, please make yourself, please be active. Uh, okay, so nobody has written anything yet. You read Learning Unit 1. How are you finding Learning Unit 1? Let me tell you this. Let me put this into perspective. Learning Unit 1, there is no calculations, not beginning with the calculations. And I like the way it is done, because Learning Unit 1 is basically a sort of a resume of the entire textbook. And I mean, that's just fair, right? So learning unit one, a snapshot to expect the learning are coming, and we're going to dive deep into the concepts that have been presented into uh, in learning unit one, right? But I like this that I want you again to remember learning units 1 to 4 is foundational. And please stick with me. And that's the reason why I'm running after you. I'm calling you. I'm trying to find out why you're not engaging. Are you having technical issues? Is because I don't want you to miss learning unit 1 to 4 because that's the foundation. We are building a nice house together, right? So I would like us to put proper foundation so that we can finalize this house, right? We would have a problem if the foundation is not properly laid. What's going to happen is that when we arrive at learning unit 5 to learning unit 7, you're going to really, really struggle if you were not proactive in learning unit 1 to 4. You're going to have a big issue, right? Like I always say, you will see smoke. You won't be able to understand anything. So please, if especially if you are accessing this recording and you are not here live, please um, mark my words and really pay careful attention to this. It's very important that you really get the foundation right. Okay. I am speaking to our academic team. There used to be a module on blackboards, and that was basic math, ratios, fractions, and all those kind of things. You would not believe that the number one cause of failure in this module will be those basic calculations. So some of you who were with me last year remember that we used to have another module, a small module, right? A short learning program, but that will just help you to catch up with your fractions, your divisions, your multiplications. I know you might be laughing and what is this? We're not in primary school. We're not in secondary school. We know all these things. But you will be surprised how many people have actually done so poorly because they were unable to do a fraction. They were unable to understand a ratio. So I hope that module that was on Blackboard will also be transferred to Arc. So I've entered my query and I'm waiting for feedback. As soon as that module is available, I will also put the link, right? So that you guys can also access the link, right? That will be quite useful, right? So, okay, so the role of the financial manager. Please, one more time. Did you enjoy the read? Anyone in the chat, if you can't unmute yourself in the chat, did you enjoy the read? Is this quite easy? Yeah, Connor. So it's all new theory, so a bit tricky to just place and link the concept. I agree with you, Connor. But that's the reason why um by the way, it's part of really this exercise that we're doing together and this collaboration. So especially this one, I agree with you, Connor. It's going to be tricky, but I obviously someone who's read entire textbook sees how everything pieced together. And I agree with you. If you have not yet gone through learning unit 2, you don't see. But the concepts are fairly simple, and we will discuss them here. We will touch on few concepts. And if you read, and I hope all of you have your textbook in front of you. I hope that there is a particular section that you are going to raise here that you are not understanding. You are reading, and basically that's the purpose of this. because I do send you lectures and you can go through the lectures. You can even just listen to the lectures, right? But maybe when you were listening or when you were reading, there is a particular section where you were not understanding. So please feel free to put that in the chat, right? You know yourself where you highlighted places in your textbook where it was not clear. Just write it down already, and we will cover that. Yeah. Yeah, Taylor saying a lot of building on previous knowledge, and I agree with you. I agree with you. And let me remind you again quickly before we start furring through the learning unit. Accounting, because I had this question from some of you. Is this similar to accounting? Remember that finance is broader than accounting. Accounting is a branch of finance. We will cover that just now. Uh, Please, if you've done accounting 1A and 1B, it's going to be very helpful, right? But if you've not done it, it's not going to affect you as well, right? Or if you failed it, don't be scared that, there will be certain learning unit that will touch on accounting, but, you have all the help of the world, right? Okay, so let me move. Yeah. All right. So the way I've structured this, and that's the reason why, I don't want to put resources that is not useful. And you have the textbook. You have, I can say, the helper to the textbook in your OneNote, right? OneNote will again give you the textbook, sections of the textbooks, of the textbook, and few explanations. And you will know why it's important when we go to learning unit 2, because you are now doing the calculations, and there will always be this question. And you know the question. The question will be, how did we get here? How did they do this calculation? How did they get this answer, right? And so that's the place where OneNote will be very useful, because you will have all the arrows, you will have all the breakdown of how we get to the answer, right? So, but for for the slide as it is, this is just also to give you quick breakdown and summary, right? And the way I've structured it is per learning unit. So for all the rest of the semester, every time we take a learning unit, we're going to structure it by the learning outcomes. So these learning outcomes basically is what we want you to understand. The core learning outcome. That's the thing that you need to retain. And that's the thing that you will be examined on. So I hope that's clear. Wow, that was something to explain, right? Okay. So we have I think four learning outcome for learning unit 1, right? And guess where you find it? You find it on your module outline. It is there. So when you're looking at your module outline, in your OneNote, you look at the module outline, all these learning outcomes are there. Yeah. So learning outcome 1, we need to explain the primary roles of the financial manager, right? And check in your textbook the primary role of the financial manager is outlined in section 1.2. So the core functions of a financial manager of learning unit 1, right, revolves around 3 key functions that are crucial for value maximization and the achievement of all the organizational financial goals, right? You know, this man, the financial manager, is very important, and the financial management itself is very important. Without it, all the other functions in a company, primary or support functions, will not work, because you need the money to be able to let me say, to send the lifeblood into the organization. Sorry for making it quite so alive, but I just want to use clear example. Just like you see the human body, it's one body, different parts. The same way, imagine a company. It's the same thing. You need that lifeblood, and the financial management function, it's basically like the heartbeat of the company. Okay, I'm gonna get a lot of problems on this one because this is not a biology class, right? This is just to make it simple for you, right? But think also about yourself. As a person, finance will become very important because as a person, you do have a financial balance sheet, right? You do have a financial position. When I say financial position, what do you understand by that? When I say I'm talking about your financial position, what does it mean? In the chat, please let me see that you are active, you are not sleeping. It's not a one-man show. It's a collaboration session. So when I say I'm looking at your financial position or your financial situation, what does that mean? Wow, that's quiet, but all good. So there's nobody writing anything, but that's also the way that you should understand. So if anytime you will struggle to understand some of uh, the concepts that we are dealing with, you will need to apply it at your own level. Okay? Because basically what happens to you is also what happens to a company, right? The financial position or the financial situation, um, uh, Caden, that's a nice try. That's a nice try, but it's not. So when I'm talking about your financial position or your financial situation, I'm talking about your assets. All right. So now it's becoming clear now, right? So what do you owe, right? Your assets. I'm talking about your liabilities. What are the debts that you have? Okay. And what is your equity? All right. Does that make sense now to you? So the reason why we do, for example, budgeting, even for ourselves, the same thing is done at the level of a company. Michael, net worth is part of it. It's part of it, right? It's also part of it. Well done. That's a good attempt. But we will cover it much deeper. So basically, that's what you need to understand. Even if you say, I am not at the moment in a company, I'm not doing business at the moment. So does this apply to me? It's very much applied to you. So I would like you, as we are right now, as we are going through these slides, please write down if you are doing right now a business. Because remember, okay, as far as I know, correct me if I'm wrong, you guys want to become entrepreneurs. And one of the most important module that you need to pass is this one, right? Because you are nearly there. Next year, it will be your third year. So in the middle of it, they want you to understand finance because you will not be successful as an entrepreneur without finance, right? So let me know if you are right now in a business, working for a business. I'll suppose some of you, but are there some of you who are entrepreneurs? So please write down, and what kind of business actually are you doing? In the past years, I've had the opportunity to interact with amazing minds, amazing entrepreneurs. That's just amazing. When you're an entrepreneur, you're an entrepreneur, and it has nothing to do with age. I've seen some of you very young, but already in business ventures and all this kind of thing. So if you're an entrepreneur, please write down what is the business so that when we're using examples throughout this semester, we will be touching on some of the businesses that you guys are doing. And perhaps you're also going to give us case studies. All right. Okay, let me just take one question here. Looking at asset and liabilities, would profit and loss also be looked at with regard to absolutely. And one of the beautiful thing, I think that will be the center when we arrive in the middle of all this. Yeah. Before just we go to the more advanced. In fact, we are starting next week when we are looking at the calculations. We will look at these two at the financial statements. Okay. And so, Christian, just hang on there. We will see even the link between these financial statements. Okay, you do not, no problem, Caden. I'm sure that some of you are thinking about businesses. I am also tremendously every day thinking about what business I can do. And trust me, there's many things, there's no perfect formula out there on how to be rich, yeah? Or how to do business well. I shouldn't say how to be rich, how to succeed in business, to be, but you will need skills. And one of those skills is a financial skill, right? Okay, so we're moving on to the next slide, right? So the financial manager fulfills three core functions critical to organizational success, right? So as you were reading, this is something that you need to retain. And what are those three? Again, I'm not just going to say it. I'm always going to give you an opportunity. Please, in the chat, what are those three functions? Connor, that's a nice try. Acquiring, financing, and managing assets. I think that will be even one of the very most critical, right? Anyone else? But some of the functions, remember, functions. This is something that he does quite often. That will be performing financial analysis and planning. And that financial analysis and planning will help in the acquiring, financing, and managing of assets. Connor, that will be a good link between what you said, right? But there are things that he does really as in his primary role that are quite often, and those core functions are performing financial analysis and planning, making investment decisions, and Connor, to link exactly to link to that, when he or she, sorry, the financial manager, he or she, right, has to make those investment decisions and financing decisions, then he is basically doing financing and investment. All right. Perfect, perfect, perfect. All right, so let's move on to the next slide. Just taking it easy. So what is it about this financial analysis and planning, right? First of all, guys, if you see a sentence like this, financial analysis and planning, please make it short, right? Cut to the chest. Don't complicate yourself. Don't memorize anything. Do not memorize anything. You can see it clearly says there is the analysis and then there is the planning. That's all. Make it easy. Don't memorize because it's not going to be useful. This is not a theoretical module. So avoid memorizing, cuts to the chest, understand the terms quickly, right? So we understand he's doing some analysis. You will be called to do some analysis because there would be situations where, as an entrepreneur, you find yourself in a situation where you do not have the luxury of employing a personal financial manager, right? And you in your business, you will be the financial manager. You understand? So the smaller the business is, the more you are called to wear many hats. So, and that's the reason why this is so important, right? But the financial manager is fundamentally responsible for evaluating the financial health and future prospects of the firm. This involves meticulously analyzing financial statements to understand past performance. So he is good. And that's what we're going to do next week. We're starting next week. We need to fall in love with the financial statement. Now, it's not only businesses that have financial statements. You too have financial statements from your bank. You get statements. What that do those statements show? Your expenses, your income, right? This makes it so real and so guys, the reason why finance is so exciting, and that's the reason why I don't want you to be confused, because it talks about real life situation, right? So the financial statement are being analyzed because they provide an understanding of the financial standing of a business or of yourself, your past performance, your current financial standing. Furthermore, it encompasses creating proactive financial plans. Oh, if you are spending too much money on those burgers, right? And you can look and say, wait a minute, there's too much wastage here. I'm wasting quite a lot of money. So what it can do is that I can plan later, right? And that's where you read budget and forecast. What are budget and forecast? They help to chart the course for future financial activities. So we are looking at the future. How are we going to navigate the future? Right? It's a bumpy ride. So we need to make sure that we look at the past, we see how we are performing, but we are also looking at the future. So planning is very critical for a financial manager. All right? Because we need to be able to anticipate the future needs, to identify problems, especially in funding. We might identify some needs, but we don't know how are we going to funds. How are we going to close the gap? But now imagine at the level of a corporation, of a firm, of a big company, you need to make sure, otherwise the company is going to fail. You know, we need to close, we need to identify potential funding gaps. We need to ensure that the firm operates with a sound financial framework. So the financial planning and analysis is the bedrock upon which we're going to do the investment and the financing decisions. All right. Because these decisions that we are going to make, right? What we need to invest in, how are we going to fund that project? So we love to speak about projects. You have projects too. You always say you have project, right? I have project to do this, I have project to do that. But how are you going to finance those projects? I hope we are all on the same level of understanding now. The same way you will apply to yourself is the same way you will apply at a greater scale for a major corporation or a company. Please, just a breathe in and a breathe out here. Can you write if this is clear? Just provide me some feedback. I need feedback if this is clear. Whew, you have no idea how I'm sweating to get this through to you. All right, guys, I'm so appreciative. Thank you so much. So this is clear. And by the way, guys, you know, you're not going to have all the time to go through all the recordings. So the more you come live, the more we can interact together, or you can get it once and for all, and then you can move on. Because like I said, you're not going to have plenty of time. And I hope some of you, as you are going through the textbook, you are tackling some of those questions. Check the past papers. The questions that you have in your textbooks will come back for your test one, right? And in the lecture I sent you, I also highlighted that, right? So the more already you work on your own notes, answering some of those questions, it's going to save you time when it comes to the test itself. That's how you're going to enjoy your test, because actually you anticipated the questions and you actually provided even answers to those questions, and they are part of your notes. And when it's time for the test, you're basically just going to ensure that you reference everything properly, and then you can answer the questions that you're going to get for your test. Most of the time, check the past papers. You could see that some of the questions always come back, right? They always come back. So don't waste time. Investment decisions. One of the most important thing is this term, capital budgeting. Well, let's break it down. Simply, it talks about budgeting. There's a difference between forecasting and budgeting. Can someone write down for me what is the difference between forecasting and budgeting? And while I move on, so the investment decisions, which is the capital budgeting. So the pivotal role of the financial manager is to make informed investment decisions, right? You need to make informed investment decision. Often we refer to that informed investment decision as capital budgeting, because what he needs to get the capital and he needs to budget. There's two terms there, the capital and the budgeting, right? So this requires assessing and selecting projects, because you're always going to have a couple of projects, and the same way is how also a business operates. A business does not just have one project, right? A business has a couple of projects, right? And those projects, when you're looking at the level of a business, we will more talk in terms of assets that a company can invest in. Now, I hope you are following me slowly there. We are going, we are going together there, right? So when you're looking at the business, it could be maybe a manufacturing company. You will see that they will invest in machinery, that those machineries, we call them assets for the company. All right. So when we're talking about a project, we are also talking about specific assets that needs to be invested in. So the financial manager needs now to make the decision, right? But he needs properly to evaluate these projects. Which one is going to provide me with more return? He needs to be able, and that's where the part of finance becomes very important. I need to be able to assess today the potential profitability of that business, of that project. I need to be able to look at the future and see what amount of cash flow I will be able to generate in the future for each investment opportunity. But I need to look at the future and bring all that here today. Because I'm not in the future, I'm here. I'm going to go in the future. I'm gonna look, I'm gonna analyze how these projects can perform, how much returns will they bringing me year on year, and I will be able to select which project is the best. Okay, if you are missing something there, please tell me. Have all of you watched Shark Tank or Dragon's Den? Okay, I think Dragon's Den is is the British version, right? And Shark Tank, all right. So all of you have watched that, and I'm sure some of you love that. But don't you see that when these people stand in front of these potential investors, those that are called the sharks, right? Or the dragons, these are potential investors. They need to convince them that the project that they're bringing forward is a project that has potential to make both the entrepreneur and the investor very wealthy, very rich, isn't it? Right? But don't you see that even if they present a beautiful project, there is always a time where it's like a pause. The most important and crucial moment is when they start to say, let's now talk finance. Let's now talk numbers. Right? Now you know the serious business begins, right? How much did you make in your first year? How much did you make in your second year? Why do they say that? It's so that they can be able to analyze the growth from first year, second year, third year. Now it's the same exercise that we're gonna do this semester. You are going to be the entrepreneurs, the investors. And one of the projects that you and I are going to do, you need to be able, before the end of this semester, to pitch to me a project that you're going to work on and how you're going to execute that project. And we need to talk numbers, you and I. Can we make a deal on that? Right? It's hopefully quiet here. All right, guys, I'm just doing the drama here, but I'm just trying to excite you so that you love this course. Because I know if you don't fall in love with this course, if you don't like it, you're not going to pass it. So whatever I'm doing is for you to love this course, right? This module, sorry. So okay, the crux of the matter is that these investment decisions, most of the time, they are long term. So they are long term in nature, and they can significantly impact companies' strategic direction and future profitability. You hear this word all the time, profitability, but we will be able, you and I, to calculate it. That's the difference between a finance guy and just an entrepreneur, right? But we want you to become, to think, to acquire this skill, financial skill, right? So you understand the purpose is we will be able to allocate capital so that we can maximize shareholder wealth, right? So please tell me again, what is the main objective of what we're doing? Is it profit maximization or is it something else? What is the core purpose of all we're doing? I like that. Wow, I'm going to enjoy Connor this semester. Connor is really on point. And guys, come on, come on. Please interact. I like that. So we understand we are looking for maximizing shareholder wealth. So it's not only about profits, profits, profits. It's way more than that, right? It's way more than that. And that's the reason why I love to give the example of these dot-com company. For example, Facebook, many technology companies, sorry, are like that, right? They started, when you look at Facebook, how it started, it was like, we don't know where this is going, right? But people who invested in Facebook at the very beginning there, where the Facebook was not earning any profits. So Facebook and majority of these technology companies are are not profitable. are not profitable. Can you imagine? They're not profitable for many years until the time because they are more after building, maximizing the wealth. So majority of the profit is not given back to the investors. It is reinvested into the company so that the company can grow. Now, that is wealth maximization. All right. So now those early adopters, early investors, today they are billionaires. You see, when it comes to investment, don't miss the bus. Do not miss the bus. If you miss the bus, you lose. You blink, you lose, right? Okay, so that's the part of finance that I love very much, which I myself really majored in, which is investment. Investment is really very tactical. All right. Okay, so to summarize this, we need to choose project that will have a net present value. Net present today. So we're going to take whatever cash flows we're going to be generating in the future. We're going to bring them here in the present to see if we are going to break even, if we are going to recoup the capital that we are investing in the project. And obviously, we don't want just to recoup the capital that we're going to invest in the project. We want even to go further. We want to be profitable. And not only that, beyond even being profitable, we want to create, to maximize wealth. All right. But obviously, whatever we do, we are doing it taking a risk because entrepreneurship is a risky business, right? We need to make a risk, but it is a calculated risk. And guess which module helps you to calculate a risk? Welcome to finance. All right. So you cannot deal, deal away, make away with uncertainty. Uncertainty will always be there. Risk will be there, but we can mitigate the risk. We can reduce the risk. We can make a calculated risk, an, an informed decision, taking calculating the risk with a calculated risk. All these are terms that finance people use. All right. Okay. So the financing decisions, you will go through your readings. Guys, I've not seen your questions. There's only 1 year. In a sole owner business, will the shareholder wealth refer to the maximizing of the owner's wealth? Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's the reason why, Connor, we always need to make this distinction between a shareholder and a stakeholder, right? Shareholders will really have to do with somebody who is putting down the money, is investing capital in the business. The stakeholder, it's anyone who has a vested interest. That's the proper definition of the stakeholder. Yeah. And that could be even somebody that is not really directly linked to the business. It could be the community. Your business, what good does it do to the community, right? Yeah. All right. So, okay. So with financing decisions now, we talk about something slightly different. We need to strike a balance about. So you see, we came from capital budgeting for investment. Now we are talking about capital structure because we are going to finance this business, right? All of you know your way to the bank. But why do you go to the bank sometimes? Because sometimes you have a project or you have a need, but you do not have the money and you need to go borrow the money from the bank or from family members. It's the same thing, right? So there are people who we need to have an optimal debt equity mix, right? Because when we talk about equity financing, we are talking about people coming on board. That's the reason you have Shark Tank, is because you want these business, those on these investors to come on board in your business and help you. So they have a share of the business, a slice of the cake. So if they share in the risk of the business, they will also share in the profits. All right? Is all this clear and simple? We need to raise money to fund the uh, the future operations and investment. We need to raise money, but we need to choose between different sources of financing, right? We have the debt, which is the borrowing, and then we have equity. What do we do with equity normally for a company? We issue shares. Shares, shareholder. Shares meaning, guys, come in, buy shares. If you buy shares, you own a percentage of the business. But the financial manager needs to consider each type of financing, right? And the level of financial risk, because you're not just going to say, I'm just going to borrow all the money. Well, it's a risk. And what kind of risk are you going to encounter, right? If you just borrow money. And what will happen if you can't repay that money? That's a major risk, right? Are you willing to assume that risk? Right? Okay? So we need to look at the risk profile there. What will be the risk and how is it going to impact actually the overall value, right? So effective financing decisions aim to maximize the cost of capital. You will hear that term. As we move on, there will be a chapter 3, if I'm not mistaken, is dedicated to just that term, cost of capital. Okay? We need to ensure that sufficient fund is available when we need it, but there is a cost of capital, but we can't be borrowing money or we can't take a capital that's cost us too much that we are unable to repay. Money, to borrow money, cost us something. And that's what you call interest. There are interest involved, right? This also involves the managing of the capital structure. So that's debt equity. We've already spoken about that. Yeah. Right, guys, let me see how far I am. So now we have 10 minutes left. We are doing very well. I think I've touched some of the most critical and crucial points that will cover the rest of the semester. Okay. Other things like for LO2, which you will read, we need to balance timing of return and cash distribution with risk. I told you already there is risk that is involved, but it's a risk that we need to be able to calculate. And we need to deal with risk, right? What are we going to do with cash? When we get profits, right? What are we going to do with it? Are we going to retain that profit? What percentage are we going to retain in the company to grow the company? And what percentage are we going to give to our investors? What is that money that we give back to our investors as a reward? Well, how is it called? Oh, come on, guys. What is that money that we distribute? It's part of the profit. Ah, Connor once more. Connor is in the house. Connor, but you added the question mark as if you doubted. Christian, you are saying if you are an individual with a low no credit score, what would your option be to attract funding? Maybe that's the reason why you go straight to investors and you pitch your idea to the investors. You try to get people to buy in, right? Especially for entrepreneurs that are at the beginning, they don't have a good credit score, so they can't easily borrow money from the banks. But these sharks, these dragons, they have access to capital, to a lifeline with the bank, right? So you need to get someone to come on board and help you. So I hope that answers your question there. But a very nice question. I like that. Guys, I told you 7 minutes. Any question for learning unit one? You read learning unit one. What is the part that was a bit confusing? I mean, I'm confused myself that you are not asking. So financial managers navigate trade-off between immediate payout and long-term growth. Remember, it's again that distinction between profit maximization and wealth maximization, right? Dividends or reinvestment, same principle. Are we going to reinvest? Are we going to retain? Remember, there's a term we call retained earning. Retained earning. You will find all about it in our next chapter. Retained earner. It means that after we have our profit, our net profits, right? After we've paid everybody, we've paid our employees. So first of all, we have what we call a cost of sales, right? Now I'm going into learning unit 2. Let me stop there. But let me just go there to say the net profit. Even you have a net profit as a person after you've paid your bills and all that, and the money that you owe to the bank, your bond, and your debt and your credit card. There is some money that remains there that you call net profits. That's just mine. It's there. So now you think about it. Can I use this money to invest in a project? Right? That's the reinvestment part, that the retained earning. But sometimes for a business, they have these profits, they don't find another project to reinvest in. Then you need to return that money to your shareholders. You can't just keep that money doing nothing with that money. No, you will say, listen, after evaluating multiple projects, we don't see a project that will provide enough return. So we rather give you back the money so that you can use it to invest yourself in another project. Because the shareholders will be really upset if you kept that money and you never invested it. I mean, that's crazy in the world of finance. You can't do that. Rather give me back the money so that I can find another project to invest in. 4 minutes remaining. Any question? Any question? Risk management. This is we will cover also. We need to talk about risk, right? Risk. There are risks that are specific to a business. There are risks that are not specific to the business. They are broad. There are risks that are in the economy, right? For example, interest rate. The interest rate has gone up or the interest rate has gone down. Those are, are, a major risk, and they are not company specific, right? But you can have also risks that are specific to that business, right? Or to that industry, right? We will dive more deeper. So it is a zero-sum game. Either you use the net profit to reinvest in the company, or you pay it all to. Absolutely, Connor. I like this. Now it sounds now more practical. It's just practical. It's common sense. It's numbers. It's numeracy. It's common sense. And by the way, guys, you can't fake passing this module. Please, especially for learning unit 1 to 4 foundational, please make sure you get this foundation, right? I will let you read the ethical considerations on your own, because they are also very important. There is some serious ethical considerations. And ethical considerations or ethical conduct is of paramount importance, because you can have dodgy financial managers, just like you have dodgy people when it comes to money. So you need critically to evaluate the considerations that comes with ethics, right? It's not just merely optional, right? but it's a foundational element of trust, especially if you want to build a business for long-term sustainability. You need responsible financial stewardship. Very responsible, right? Guys, 2 minutes remaining. Are you satisfied? Are you pleased with this? Is this clear? Ethical conduct underpins trust and sustainability. I couldn't better summarize this. Ethical conduct underpins trust and sustainability. All right. And the last one at the end is you saw this, the agency problem. All right. The agency problem occurs because there's two interests. There is an agent and who? The agent and the principal. Agents and principal. The managers of a business, and that's why this agency problem arises, because you will have the control of a business given to to a group of people that are called agents or managers. They are managing on behalf of the owners, the shareholders, or the principal. Now, if you have different interests, if the manager is not sticking to the interest of the owners, we have an agency problem, right? You have an agency problem. I hope you've read it, because you can have self-serving behavior, right? Where the managers are trying to maximize their wealth. So if you give me about a little 5 minutes, just a little 5 minutes, we can finish this one if you are struggling with it. Otherwise, it's already 7. If you have something else to do, you can live. But if you give me 5 minutes, little bit 5 minutes, we can finish this very nice. And if you have any question on this one, you can tell me. But it's a potential for conflict of interest. You've heard this term, conflict of interest. So these financial managers are acting as agents. They might make decisions that benefit themselves at the expense of the shareholders. That's all it's about. So, for example, the financial manager might prioritize their own job security or prestige, right? By engaging in building their own empire, right? Over investment in projects that don't return a lot of money. You are investing in projects that don't really, they're not maximizing the shareholder value. That's all it's about, right? And that's create a big problem. And also, some of the things that exacerbate this problem is the information asymmetry, right? So the 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 financial manager might know things of the day-to-day operations, right, of the business that the owners don't know. He might know things about the health of the company that the owner doesn't know. That's what we call information asymmetry. All right. So it can make it difficult for the shareholders to effectively monitor what is happening. Effectively monitor the actions of the financial manager. And because they need to ensure that the financial managers are acting in their best interest, the best interest of the shareholders, right? So there are things to mitigate this, and they are part of your textbook. You can make also your notes, because these also come in your tests, right? There are things to avoid this. For example, it could be monitoring. Uh, what are some of the monitoring tools that you can use? Auditing, financial auditing. You hear about financial auditing. Very important. There is financial auditing statement. And you must establish good corporate governance mechanism. Yeah? Is everything clear here? Corporate governance talks about that strong governance. It's a corporate means company, right? Corporation, the good governance of the corporation, right? And some of the tools are strong internal control and and bonding cost, to mitigate the problems that comes with the agency problem. Okay, so the case studies, like I said, I would like also to take some of the real life, real world project that you guys have. Please feel free, especially in the next session. Please feel free to tell me some of the ideas that you have, and maybe we can test it, you and I and the rest of your colleagues, to see if it's going to work. All right. So that's it for me, guys. That's it for today. But please do your homework. Your homework is go through the actual exercise. Oh, Taylor, I saw that. Oh, I saw that. Sorry about that. So, okay, just to confirm, guys, yes, we do have the IE referencing guide, and in fact, it has been updated. I think, please try to see if you can get a copy of it, but I will also share with you the copy of it, right, guys? So it has been updated, but you use the IE referencing guide, right? I think we are using Harvard Anglia. So which is quite easy to reference, and you do have actually tools. I'm going to stop the recording here, but you can stay to chat with me if you have any question. But let me stop the recording here. Yeah, so Christian, you also have a question. Go ahead.